Welcome back to Stoic Wisdom TV. Let's get real for a minute. You've been around long enough to know that not every woman who walks into your life is a blessing. Some bring a kind of light that fills the room. They lift your spirits, challenge you to be better, and make you feel seen in a way that's rare and real. But others? Well, the light doesn't come until the moment they walk out the door. And I'm not saying that to be harsh or bitter. This isn't about pointing fingers or playing the blame game. It's about clarity, about seeing people for who they are, not who you wish they'd be. Because if you've lived a little, you've felt it in your bones. Not everyone who smiles at you has your best interests at heart, and not every hand you hold is meant to hold yours back. Life's too short to keep pouring your time, energy, and hard-earned peace into relationships that leave you drained, confused, or second-guessing yourself. Especially with women who hide their red flags behind charm, beauty, or those polished social graces that can fool you if you're not paying attention. As a man guided by Stoic principles, you know that your happiness and inner peace depend on the quality of your thoughts and, just as importantly, the company you keep. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic Roman emperor, put it best when he said that the happiness of your life hinges on the quality of your mind. But I'd add a little twist: it also hinges on who you let into your circle. So, let's sharpen that clarity together. I'm going to walk you through 7 unmistakable signs of women who aren't good for your peace, traits you can't afford to ignore if you want to live a life of purpose and tranquility. This isn't about judgment, it's about wisdom. It's about knowing who deserves a seat at your table and who's just there to take what's yours. Ready? Let's dive in. The first sign is one that sneaks up on you, and if you're not careful, it'll pull you into a role you never signed up for. She's always the victim, always. It doesn't matter who's in the story: her boss, her best friend, her ex, or even the barista at the coffee shop who got her order wrong. In every single tale she tells, she's the one who's been wronged, betrayed, or misunderstood. At first, you might feel for her. She's good at painting the picture. Her voice trembles just enough, her eyes well up with just the right amount of hurt. You sit there, listening, nodding, maybe even feeling a protective instinct kick in. You think, man, she's been through a lot. Maybe she just needs someone to treat her right. And that's the hook. You're reeled in before you even realize it. But here's the thing: the longer you stick around, the more you see the pattern. It's not just about her past wounds, it's about control. A woman who clings to victimhood isn't looking to heal, she's looking to keep you on a leash. I knew a guy named Tom, a solid dude, steady, kind, the kind of man you'd want in your corner. He met a woman like this after his divorce. She seemed open and vulnerable at first, sharing stories about how her ex cheated on her, how her boss held her back because he couldn't handle a strong woman, how her family always took her sister's side growing up. Tom admired her resilience, or so he thought. But as the months went on, the stories never stopped. Everyone was toxic, every job ended unfairly, every friendship blew up because of betrayal. Eventually, Tom found himself stuck in a cycle. He was either her hero, constantly reassuring her she was right, or her villain, the moment he dared to disagree or suggest she might share some responsibility. From a Stoic perspective, this is a red flag you can't ignore. Marcus Aurelius taught us that we have power over our minds, not external events. Realizing this gives us strength. But a woman who's always the victim refuses that power. She surrenders to life's circumstances and expects everyone else to carry the weight of her emotions. She'll drain your energy, your patience, and if you're not careful, your peace of mind. The Stoic solution? Recognize it for what it is. Stop playing the rescuer. You're not responsible for someone else's wounds, especially if they refuse to heal them. Offer compassion, but keep your boundaries firm. If the stories never change, if she's still the victim after months or years, it's time to step back, quietly and firmly. Stoicism reminds us that peace comes from within, and if someone keeps pulling you into their chaos, it's not unkind to walk away. It's wise. The second sign is one you'll feel in your gut before you see it with your eyes: she's addicted to drama. I'm not talking about the occasional emotional outburst. We're all human, and we all have our moments. I mean the kind of woman whose life is an endless soap opera, one she's directing, starring in, and rewriting every chance she gets. If things get too calm, too stable, she'll find a way to stir the pot just to feel alive. To her, peace is boring. Stability makes her restless. And without even realizing it, you'll get sucked into a cycle of conflict, confusion, and emotional chaos that never seems to end. It usually starts small. Maybe she gets upset because you were distracted while she was talking, or you didn't text back fast enough. Suddenly, it's not just a minor annoyance, it's proof you're pulling away, proof you don't care. A quiet evening turns into an argument you didn't see coming. You spend hours explaining yourself, apologizing for something you don't even fully understand. And by the end of it, you're exhausted while she seems energized. That's the thing about drama queens: chaos is their comfort zone. It gives them a sense of control, keeps them at the center of attention, and leaves everyone else scrambling to keep up. From a Stoic point of view, this is a losing game. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, wrote that an angry person opens their mouth and shuts their eyes. A woman addicted to drama isn't interested in truth or resolutions. Chasing the high of emotional stimulation, whether it's hers or yours. She's not looking for harmony, she's looking for a stage. And if you're the nearest audience, or worse, the nearest target, you'll get caught in the crossfire. Over time, this chips away at your peace. You become reactive, anxious, always waiting for the next storm. A Stoic man values his inner stillness above all else, and you can't hold on to that if you're constantly being dragged into someone else's chaos. The solution? Step back emotionally. You don't have to cut her out of your life right away, but you do need to stop engaging in her drama. Let the waves crash without jumping in to save anything. Observe, but don't participate. As Epictetus taught, we can't control others, we can only control how we respond. Sometimes, the wisest response is silence, space, and a refusal to play a role in someone else's script. You're not obligated to be an actor in her drama. Your job as a Stoic man is to stay grounded, steady, and free. Here's a sign that's subtle but deadly: she controls you through guilt. Guilt is a powerful tool. It hits you right in the chest, makes your gut tighten, and studies even show it activates the same parts of your brain as physical pain. Some women know exactly how to wield it, and they do so in ways that make you second-guess your own decisions. At first, it might seem like she's just sensitive. Maybe she gets upset when you cancel plans to focus on work, or she goes quiet when you suggest taking some time for yourself. You think she just needs reassurance, so you give it. You cancel your plans, rearrange your priorities, and each time, you give up a little piece of yourself to avoid that disappointed look in her eyes, the one that says, "I thought you were different. I thought I mattered more." She doesn't have to say it out loud. Her silence, her sigh, the way she withdraws. Affectionate enough to make you feel like you're failing her, like you're never quite enough. Before you know it, you're not making decisions based on reason or your own value, reacting, trying to avoid the guilt that creeps in whenever you put yourself first. This is how she keeps control. Guilt becomes her currency, and the more you pay, the more she demands. You start explaining your choices more than making them, and if you don't meet her unspoken expectations, you become the villain in her story. Stoicism has a clear answer for this. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." When you let guilt guide your actions, you've already surrendered your freedom. Guilt clouds your judgment and pulls you into a cycle of appeasement where you lose sight of your own purpose. The solution isn't to argue or fight, it's to set clear, steady boundaries. Act from reason, not fear. Offer what you choose to offer, not because you're avoiding punishment, but because it aligns with who you are. When she tries to pull those guilt strings, stay calm and resolved. A stoic man who knows his values and stands firm in them is free, and no amount of guilt can take that from you unless you let it. The fourth sign often shows up when life gets hard: she lacks empathy. Sooner or later, life throws everyone a curveball. Maybe you lose someone close, your health takes a hit, or your career hits a rough patch. In those moments, you find out who's really in your corner. A woman who lacks empathy won't be there for you, or if she is, it's only because she feels obligated, not because she genuinely cares. You'll notice it in small ways at first. Maybe you mention you're feeling burned out after a tough week, and she barely looks up from her phone before steering the conversation back to herself, usually about something trivial. Or maybe you open up about something personal, something that took courage to share, and she brushes past it like it's no big deal. There's a distance there, and you feel it. It's not just that she doesn't understand, she doesn't care to. I heard a story from a friend of mine, a guy I respect deeply, who went through this after his wife passed away. He started dating a woman who seemed supportive at first, but when the real weight of his grief hit, she couldn't handle it. He just needed someone to sit with him in the quiet, to be there, but she got restless, impatient. She'd change the subject, offer shallow reassurances, and then pivot back to her own life, her plans, her problems. He realized he was lonelier with her than he was on his own. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." I'd add, waste no more time hoping someone will become something they're not. Empathy isn't something you can teach or coax out of someone. It's either there or it's not. An empathetic partner doesn't need to fix you, she doesn't even need to say much. Her presence, steady, calm, sincere, reminds you you're not alone. A woman who lacks empathy can sit right next to you, and you'll still feel miles apart. If you find yourself making excuses for her distance during your hardest moments, stop. Pay attention to that feeling. Stoicism teaches us to accept what is, not what we hope for. If she can't meet you with compassion when life gets tough, she won't be there for the storms to come. The solution? Choose differently. Walk away, not in anger, but in clarity. Life's too short to be with someone who listens with their ears, but not their heart. The fifth sign is easy to overlook at first, but over time, it'll drain the life out of you. She's obsessed with superficial things. I'm not talking about someone who enjoys nice things, we all do to some extent. I mean someone who measures life by appearances, how big the house is, how expensive the car is, how many likes her latest post got. To her, these things aren't just perks, they're the whole point. Her sense of value is tied to what she can show off, not who she truly is. You might think it's harmless at first. What's wrong with wanting a little luxury? But the problem runs deeper. It's not about the things, it's about what they represent to her: status, approval, superiority. She judges herself, and more importantly, she judges you based on what you can provide on the outside. You'll feel like you're in a never-ending competition. you didn't sign up for. Whether you make 6 figures or 7, whether you drive a reliable truck or a luxury sedan, it's never enough, because someone else always has more, and she's always looking for the next rung to climb. The Stoics warned us about this mindset over 2,000 years ago. Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." A woman obsessed with status is never content, no matter what she gets. It's not satisfaction she feels, it's a momentary high, followed by the emptiness of wanting more. It's like trying to fill a broken jar, everything you pour in leaks right out. From a Stoic perspective, externals are indifferent, they don't add or subtract from who you are as a person. Marcus Aurelius called them things indifferent, meaning your character, your virtue, and how you live your life are what matter. A woman who can't see past the surface will never recognize that in you, no matter how deeply you live by those principles. Seneca put it perfectly, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. A woman obsessed with superficial things is the poorest kind of companion, because she'll never know contentment, and she'll never offer you peace. If you tie yourself to her, you'll lose yourself trying to keep up. Your energy, your dignity, your peace, it'll all be spent chasing shadows. The solution? Walk away, not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. A Stoic man guards his peace above all else, and that means leaving a shallow life behind. The 6th sign shows up in those small moments of disagreement that somehow turn into something much bigger. She can't admit she's wrong ever. You could lay out all the facts, explain your side with calm reason, even show proof that's undeniable, and she'll still twist the story to make herself right. If she can't win on facts, she'll shift the ground beneath you. Suddenly, it's not about the disagreement anymore, it's about how you're making her feel, how you're attacking her character, or how you always do this. The original point gets buried under an avalanche of emotional deflection. At first, you might think it's just pride, or maybe she's having a bad day. But over time, you see the pattern. She can't own her mistakes, no matter how small. She'll defend a bad decision, a hurtful comment, or an obvious oversight to the bitter end, because, to her, being wrong means being weak, and weakness is unacceptable. Psychologically, this often comes from a fragile sense of self-accepting blame feels like a threat to her identity, so she fights to protect it at all costs. But when someone makes being right the goal in every interaction, they sacrifice something far more valuable: growth, connection, and trust. A person who can't admit fault can't learn, and a person who can't learn can't grow. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If anyone can refute me, show me I'm making a mistake or looking at things from the wrong perspective, I'll gladly change. It's the truth I'm after." That's real wisdom. Welcoming correction as an opportunity, not an attack. A woman who rejects that principle will leave you in a relationship where your perspective is always under suspicion, and the burden of being the reasonable one always falls on you. That's exhausting and lonely. A relationship like this becomes less about connection and more about control. By refusing to admit fault, she walls herself off from growth, understanding, and ultimately, love. As a Stoic man, you must choose humility and truth in your own life, and you must choose a partner who does the same. Not because she's perfect, but because she's willing to be imperfect and brave enough to admit it. Without that humility, there's no partnership, only competition. And life's too short to spend it keeping score. Seneca said, "Only time can heal what reason cannot." But in a relationship where reason is never allowed a seat at the table, time only makes things worse. The solution? Seek someone who knows that saying "I was wrong" isn't a weakness, but one of the highest forms of strength. If she can't offer that, it's time to walk away, not out of anger, but out of respect for the life of wisdom and peace you're building. If there's one thing life teaches us as we get older, it's that time is the one currency we never get back. You can earn more money, you can fight for your health, but time? Once it's gone, it's gone. That's why a woman who disrespects your time isn't just careless, as dangerous to your peace of mind. I knew a man named Richard, a contractor in Houston, mid-50s, the kind of guy who'd built everything he had from the ground up. He was sharp, disciplined, respected. But in his personal life, he got tangled up with a woman named Elise. She was charming at first, beautiful, warm, the kind of woman who knew how to make a man feel wanted. But there was a pattern: she was always late. 20 minutes, then 40. She'd cancel plans last minute because she wasn't feeling up to it, or something came up. Sometimes, she'd just forget altogether. Richard, being the patient guy he was, let it slide at first. He figured, life gets busy, we all know how that is. But weeks turned into months, and he found himself shifting his work schedule to fit hers. He waited in restaurants alone, delayed trips, and cancelled fishing weekends with old friends because Elise said she really wanted to see him, only to bail without a second thought. I'll never forget sitting across from him one afternoon, watching him stare at his phone after she'd stood him up again. He shook his head and said, "Man, I feel like I'm always waiting." That's what happens when someone disrespects your time. They keep you waiting, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. And if you're not careful, they'll make you think it's normal, that you need to be more understanding. But a Stoic man knows better. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Richard came to realize that Elise wasn't busy or forgetful, she simply didn't value his time because she didn't value him. And he had allowed it by not valuing his own time first. The solution isn't confrontation or ultimatums, it's clarity. Respect your own time as fiercely as you respect your life, because they're one and the same. A woman who honors you will honor your time. She'll show up when she says she will, and she'll treat your minutes as something sacred because they are. Epictetus asked, "How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself?" Richard stopped waiting, and so should you. Time wasted is life wasted. Spend yours where it's valued. These 7 signs: always playing the victim, thriving on drama, controlling through guilt, lacking empathy, obsessing over superficial things, refusing to admit fault, and disrespecting your time are warning lights for a Stoic man. They're not just red flags in a relationship, they're threats to your inner peace, your clarity, and your purpose. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control: our thoughts, our actions, our choices. We can't control how others behave, but we can control who we allow into our lives. As Marcus Aurelius said, the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts and the company you keep. So, what's the path forward? First, reflect on the women in your life, past and present. Do any of these signs ring true? If so, don't beat yourself up. We've all been there, drawn in by charm or beauty, hoping for the best. But hope isn't a strategy. Clarity is. Second, set boundaries rooted in reason, not emotion. You don't have to cut people out of your life overnight, but you do need to protect your peace. Step back from chaos, refuse to engage in drama, and demand respect for your time and energy. Finally, choose wisely going forward. Seek a partner who brings light into your life, not the kind that leaves when she does, but the kind that stays, steady and true, even in the darkest moments. I'd love to hear your story. Have you encountered any of these traits in your own relationships? How did you handle it? Drop a comment below and share your journey or triumphs, your challenges, or even just a simple "I resonate with this" to let me know you're on this path with me. Your engagement helps build a community of men striving for wisdom, turning every challenge into an opportunity to grow. If you found value in this, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss the next piece of Stoic wisdom. Let's keep walking this path together, building lives of purpose, peace, and strength. Because at the end of the day, a Stoic man doesn't just survive, he thrives, no matter who walks in or out of his life. If this message resonates with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that will help you create the life you truly deserve. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.